Hello, everybody. I am Teresa Ikeyong, and today I want to be talking about a topic I would call trauma response. The definition of trauma response will not really portray what I'm talking about, but I couldn't think of a better word. All right. So as usual, I usually talk about maybe an experience I had or a story I heard and the things I learned from the story. So recently, I've had interactions with people, and sometimes you're relating with somebody and the person is behaving in ways that you're like, what's going on here? You understand? Maybe the person is doing things that it doesn't look normal to you. And as Africans, the first thing that comes to our minds most times is, this must be evil manipulation. This must be village people, you understand? But sometimes it's not that. It could just be, that the person is acting out of something that happened to the person in the past. And the person has settled into a pattern, that is kind of like a coping mechanism for the person. So let me just get into the story. I was listening to a pastor online, and he told the story of how he met a lady. They brought a lady to him. The lady's on the big side, and the lady was like, "Pastor, why is it that when men see me, all they want to do is sleep with me?" And the pastor looked at her. This is one that is on the big side. You're wearing something short. You're wearing something that is showing all your cleavage. Of course, the men will want to sleep with you. You understand? In fact, the pastor even told her that, look, if I was like those men, I would want to sleep with you too. But the pastor now started asking her questions, you understand? Because if you see a lady like that, you will condemn her in your heart. What kind of girl is this? Blah, 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 and everything. In interrogating the girl or the lady, he now finds out that, because he started asking her, okay, so why do you dress like this? And everything. You won't believe that the reason why she dresses like that, for me, is a trauma response to what happened to her as a child. She said when she was younger, she used to be really slim, and her dad told her that she looked like a man. I am going to digress here. Your father told you look like a man. So let me digress a bit. I'm talking to parents and teachers now. Parents and teachers, whether you're a teacher in school, your churches, Sunday school, whatever, or you have access to children and you speak to children, or you're a carer, please, we have a very huge responsibility as parents and teachers, because they say the first 6 years of a child, those are their impressionable years. There are lots of things that, if are not properly done at that age, is going to affect the child for the rest of their lives, you understand? And what parents and teachers, we need to know that we determine the inner voice of our children. If we are overly critical to our children are going to grow up with an inner voice that is very critical. But if we speak positively to our children, that's how their inner voice is going to turn out in the future. How can you as a father tell your child that your girl child looks like a man? One thing we need to understand as human beings is that we did not create ourselves. We did not create ourselves. So whatever shape you come out with, whether you are endowed, you're not endowed, or whatever, it is not the person's fault. I did not create myself. That girl did not create herself. And interestingly, she was just a child then. Look at her now, big. Maybe that has even, I don't know if maybe that contributed to her maybe eating more or something like that so that she can have more body. I don't know. She said she was really slim. Maybe she had this shape that you would say she's figure 1.1 or 11 or something. You know how we just describe people. People need to understand that we did not create ourselves. And it is some of these things that have pushed people to the extreme. You find people today who are never satisfied. No matter how many procedures they do to themselves, they are not satisfied. Because the problem is not you getting a BBL. It is not. The problem is not you getting a boob enlargement. No. There's something on the inside you are trying to feel, which no matter how many procedures you do, you will never feel. And so that thing stuck with that child. And she started feeling that to show that I am not a man, I need to show my assets. I need to show, because I'm imagining that if she's big on the big side, she probably has thunder thighs, you understand? And so she'll show her thighs, she'll show her boobs, and all that, just so that she can keep counteracting that thing that her father said to her. And then, of course, she told the man too that when she sleeps with the men, she feels like a woman. Can you imagine that kind of trauma response to what was said to her as a child? So today we have people, back to my encounter with people, my interactions with people and seeing the way people behave. See, in recent times, I've come to a place where, honestly speaking, when I see a behavior, my head is racing and I'm thinking, what could have happened that made this person like this? You see people kidnapping. You see, of course, I know that there are people kidnapping out of greed, but there are people that are falling into these things because of the kind of environment they grew up. I'm not saying people shouldn't take responsibility for the actions, they should. But you know, I try not to judge people because I grew up in an environment that was okay and I had okay parents does not mean people were that fortunate. And I don't know what would have happened if I was unfortunate to be in that circumstance. You understand? So we see people doing stuff and we don't know why they are doing stuff. People have probably judged the girl, oh, she's a slut, she's a this, she's a that. But no one sat down to start asking, why did you start doing these things and all that? And I want to believe that the pastor counseled her and she needs therapy, because the truth of the matter is that trauma responses, or how we react or cope with our trauma, is not something that can go in one day. Unfortunately, in this part of the world, once you start seeing a therapist, people feel that she's mad. We need to go away from that old school thinking. You understand? There are different levels of mental health challenges. We don't need to see everyone that has to talk to a therapist like they are mad. I mean, abroad, people pay huge sums of money to therapists to deal with things in different ways, you get, because you cannot cancel a life. Imagine that kind of life for the rest of her life, just because she wants to erase or deal with that thought of I am not a man. She's doing things that she's exposing herself to to harm. Because I mean, if you sleep around like that, so the people you sleep with will not wear protection, you end up doing what? And imagine that kind of person is married tomorrow. Let's say she even stopped the sleeping around and married tomorrow, but she hasn't healed from that thing, and then this person now is raising another child. You keep on handing over this thing to the next generation. Our society is really messed up because of issues like this. So I think the takeaway from this video is, please, parents, teachers, I beg, let us speak positive things. We are guilty. I'm guilty of those things. Sometimes your children can be really annoying. This child, you are a very lazy child. One thing I learned that our brains can't really handle negativity. So if you're trying to counteract an issue, instead of saying, for instance, now let me go back to psychology. So they said that psychologically your brain works better with positive whatever. For instance, let's say your child is lazy. Instead of saying you lazy child, you can tell the child you hardworking child. I know this sounds ridiculous and funny, but I'm telling you the truth. If you keep speaking positively to the child, imagine the child just annoyed you. Instead of you saying you're very stupid, you're very foolish, and you're saying you are better than this, or maybe you say you're a very hardworking child. It sounds very funny, but I'm telling you the truth, it's going to have an effect on the child. It's going to have a positive effect on the child. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. You as a parent, you have what it takes to speak to the child. You as a teacher, because teachers have done a lot of damage, saying negative things, you understand. There are people that have come out today and maybe they spend their whole childhood trying to overcome what that teacher said, and they overcame it, and they're like, imagine, and my teacher said when I was a child that I couldn't amount to nothing, I couldn't do this, I couldn't do that. Please, this is an appeal. You have the opportunity to speak life to these children as a parent and as a teacher. Yes, they can be annoying, but don't allow that annoying behavior or whatever make you say negative things. Instead, speak the positive things. It may sound ridiculous to you, but keep saying it. Keep saying it. You're adding value to the child. We are all suffering what another generation did. We can do better for the next generation. Imagine that we keep speaking these positive things to the children, and we have less menace and stuff in the society, because we have people who have heard positive things when they were younger, and they believe in themselves, and they believe that they can do better. Anyway, I've stretched this video beyond what I wanted to. So the takeaway is that let us show grace to people, because we don't know what they are trying to overcome in their head. You don't know the things that were spoken to them, the environment they grew, and that weird behavior they are manifesting might just be a trauma response to something that happened in the past. Secondly, as teachers, as parents, as adults, let us never ever say negative things to children. We already have too much bad things in the society, and we are making it worse by reinforcing and saying those negative things. Let us use our mouth to say positive things, to the people around us. That even as adults, not just children. That employee, you don't know what the person is dealing with. A word of kindness can just change everything. A word of kindness, maybe the employee has a weakness. Instead of saying you are lazy, you are this, you can say, you can do better than this. You have the potential. Make them believe in themselves, and they'll bring out the best for you. Anyway, I hope you have learned a thing or two from this talk, and let's just try to make our world better. Thank you, and I'll see you guys in the next video.